lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be alone. How I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.
So, I actually accidentally didn't start recording until partially through the video, so I'm gonna give a little preface for the people who are gonna be watching this later. I apologize, and I suggest that you go back and watch the whole video because I don't know if you guys found it informative, but I definitely think it's a good little thing just to kind of keep in mind if you're trying to remember how a bill becomes a law. Now, tell me you guys' impressions. Did you like it? Did it help clarify anything?
Yeah, my government teacher in high school showed me that. So it's kind of crazy. I still remembered it. Like, it gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
I think I know a little bit more, like not necessarily like maybe like that, but I think I'm like, okay, go from there. I feel better about it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, then the video did its job. And just a little point that I would like to make at the end, because you know how it said that, you know, it got the veto and that it's really hard for it to become a law from there. The way that goes is that it has to be passed by a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress to go over the president's veto. Because for it to get to the president, it needs a majority in each of the houses, and that's much easier to attain than 2/3. And that's why they were saying it's really difficult once a president has vetoed. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So let us move on to all the definitions. So yeah, we have quite a list right here. Can somebody tell me what a constituency is?
It's the residents in an area from which an official is elected.
Yeah, and so could you put that in your own words?
So it's basically like if someone got elected to be a part of the Senate, it's the people who vote for him to be in the Senate, him or her, right?
Well, it's actually the people that public officer serves. So for the American president's constituency is the whole of America, while a California state senator's constituency is all citizens of California, and it goes smaller from there on. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep. So you said the people, a public, what did you say?
A public servant serves and represents. And so, does everybody have that? So what is a bicameral legislature?
Having a legislative assembly composed of two chambers of houses distinguished for unicameral. I can't say that. Unicameral.
Maybe, I'm not sure where.
It's spelled the same way as the term, but it has a U.
Oh, unicameral, yeah.
Unicameral. I think what this means, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's referring to both sides.
Yeah, it's referring to the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Yes.
And so those are the two houses that make up the bicameral legislature. So what I like to imagine myself is that I imagine a camel, because cameral reminds me of camel, and so I think of a two-humped camel, one with one of the humps that's labeled House of Representatives and the other that's labeled the Senate. And so they're working along and stuff like that, and they're part of the same body, as opposed to a one-humped camel that has both houses just in one. That's a unique camel. And does anybody know the benefits of having a bicameral legislature? Or, well, here, how about this? What is the difference between the House of Representatives and the Senate? You probably made it.
This is the Senate has two representatives. The House of Representatives has like 400 something. I don't know. It's by population. There's an argument over my state is bigger.
And so did everybody get what Trainer was saying? No? Okay. No, you couldn't hear? All right. I'll repeat it for him. He was saying that the House of Representatives is based on population to serve the bigger states and who carry more American people and need that representation. And as compared to the Senate, where each state gets two representatives, no matter how large they are. And so by having one house based on population and the other a guaranteed two for everyone, what does that do for states?
Well, first of all, if there was like only the Senate, it would make everybody fair. But in a way, it would kind of like put things in ties. So having the House of Representatives helps you out because, like, for example, California, if we only had the Senate and we only had two reps, like 2 reps is way too little for how much population there's in California.
Yeah, it's not an accurate representation.
No. So it works out fine. It gives you the accurate representation to each state. Because I know, like, even for Hawaii, I think Hawaii had like 3. Well, I was basing it on the elections, but they had like three congressional votes or whatever it was. And Hawaii's like not that big, and Alaska too. And like North Dakota and South Dakota, they all had 3. So like, it just kind of shows how even them, even though they're small, they still needed one more rep.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is a way to kind of balance population versus size and geographical and non. And so, yeah, exactly. And so before we get to sociological representation, I want to ask you guys, what is the difference between a delegate representative, or yeah, a delegate and a trustee? And I know it's used in the beginning, in that first chapter. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, I have it here. So if a representative is acting as a delegate, how do you think they would act?
Don't they vote according to the preference of their constituents?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're seeing themselves as somebody who is delegated, aka chosen, to go represent their constituency. And so they will do exactly as that constituency wants, because that's their job, to represent to that constituency. Now,
And isn't like the delegate more so kind of like assigned?
kind of.
Kind of
It's more so just like this is the person elected.
Okay, yeah.
And so a trustee would be the opposite of a delegate. So what would that be?
It says a representative who votes based on what he or she thinks is best for his or her constituency.
Yeah. And so basically they think that their constituency doesn't know what's best for themselves, much like the framers of the Constitution thought that civilians would be. And they think that they, with their political knowledge, must step in and choose the right course for their constituency, rather than doing as their constituency wants. Is that difference clear to everybody? Okay. Make sure you get to write that all down. And so, what is sociological representation?
Types of representation in which like the person has like the same ethnicity, race, racial, gender, ethnic, religious, or educational background as their constituents. It is based on the principle that if the two individuals are similar in background, character, interests, and perspectives, then one can correctly represent the other's views.
Yep. And
so basically, they can replace.
Huh?
They can replace each other or decide upon something. One can decide upon something, knowing that the other person has like the same views, or the constituency has the same views.
Yeah, basically saying because, like, let's say if Betty voted for me because I'm a woman, so she thinks that I will vote as she does, as a woman would choose in certain situations. And so, do we see a lot of sociological representation in Congress?
I think so, because like I know that the senator choices for California were both only Democrats, so they automatically have the same kind of outlook as the rest of California, or a majority of California does. So yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, we're seeing less of professional career politicians who went to Ivy League schools that are affluent white men. And we're seeing more of a representation of different classes and characteristics in both the House and the Senate, as you said in our just most recent election.
And I think both of the choices were women, which is surprising, but not really because it's California, but it's something, I think that still there's a change kind of happening in the U.S. government with making more women be involved, making other races be involved.
Yeah. And I think, personally, as an editorial note, I think that will lead to better legislation. As if we have people who have experienced similar things to us, then they'll be able to write better laws and bills. But yes. All right, term limits. What are there term limits on the Senate? Are there term limits on Congress? How long can you?
I don't know.
I already forgot, right? The House is House of Representatives is 2 years and the Senate is 6 years, but the Senate has like this weird like a third of it is or is that the House? I can't remember.
Oh, so they have staggered elections, and so that it's not. So there is it's not every six years that everybody has a turnover. So it's staggered like our essay, like your guys' essays, so that elections and stuff like that don't come all at once. And so it's more representative to what the American public is feeling in between the general election and midterm elections. Can everybody hear Trainer?
His audio's bad.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I will just
Just away from the mic.
yeah. So you just need to be close up to the mic.
Yeah, he has his phone far away.
So I would say maybe scoot closer to the charger or something. But he was saying that the House of Representatives has a 2-year term limit, and the Senate has a 6-year limit, and that the elections are staggered as to not have appointments happen all at once, and to be more responsive to the political climate each year rather than every 6 years or 2, as the case may be. Do I have everybody on the same page? Okay. And so what is apportionment?
Occurs after every decennial census allocates congressional seats among the 50 states.
So decennial is another way to say every 10 years, and that's when the census happens. And so there is a new record of how many how many citizens there are in the U.S. And so the apportionment is changed as far as how many, like let's say how many representatives California has in the House. I think currently we're at 43 or so. That's just off the top of my head. So like in 2020, we may see that we have 45 or that we have 41. All depends on if our population increases or decreases.
That's kind of crazy. I never thought about the fact that that eventually changes.
Yeah.
You always think like, okay, they need 270 votes, to win presidency or whatever, but eventually it's going to change as the population grows or decreases.
Yeah. That is
watch will be like 3 in like 100 years.
Everybody moved out of California or something.
Screw California. Nah, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be in Wyoming. Let's leave that be. So what is who's the Speaker of the House? What do they do?
Speaks for the House. I don't know. I couldn't find that one. I might have missed it. I was reading.
Who do they speak for? Now let's Google it.
I think I found it. Is it the chief presiding officer?
Yeah.
It says that he's the chief presiding officer of the House of Reps. The Speaker is the most important party and House leader and can influence the legislative agenda, the fate of the individual, pieces of legislation, and members' position of the House.
Yeah. And so another way to phrase that, because that's the book definition, is that they are the leader of the current majority party in the House. And because their party has majority, they get to appoint the Speaker of the House. And so, I think I've stopped for a second. Everybody's frozen. On Sac State Wi-Fi. Yeah.